Ties in cubing are... Microphone. Right. Ties in cubing are rare, to say the least. We had one quite recently, you'll probably remember. The 3x3 world record average, 4.86. It was tied between Timon and Max, and it lasted 9 months. But if I asked you, you probably couldn't remember another one. FMC doesn't count. It's full integers and thirds. FMC doesn't count. Well, Patrick Pons also managed to tie his own one-handed average. That was fairly impressive. But is there anywhere that we would expect to see a cubing tie? FMC doesn't count. Short events, of course. And now, cubing only ever gets more and more optimized with less and less time to cut out of your solves. And as people get faster, they also get more consistent because they gain a better mastery over all of the variables in one solve. So as time passes, we'd expect more ties. So it comes as a bit of a surprise then that the greatest tie in cubing history is over a decade old. Before I talk about that though, I'm going to give a shout out to my channel members who I will put up here. We have Eric Uber, Ryan Eckersley, and Phil. Do you want to be in a Swagrid video? Send me money. Support the economy, and supporting the economy is when you send Swagrid money, and you can do that by buying a channel membership. I like money. I just want everyone to know that I would never sell out unless the opportunity presented itself, so if you want to sponsor me, just go ahead and ask. Geneva Open 2008 was a triple world record competition, with all of them being in the final round of 2x2. Edouard Chambon achieved a 3.28 average of 5, yes that was world record, take it seriously, a 3.28 average of 5 in the final round, as well as getting a 1.39 single, which bested the previous record of 1.63 by just about a quarter of a second. Although this new single wouldn't stand any longer than a handful of minutes. Eric Akajdik would be the first person to break down the sub 1 second barrier. No video exists unfortunately, but on this scramble here, Eric would get a 0.96 second solve. On a 7 mover! I'm sure most people when presented with the scramble would jump at the opportunity to do orange. However, Eric would end up doing the same solution, but looking at white on bottom. No doubt this solve contributed to Eric's legendary reputation for luck, although I've already made another video about that if you're interested. Much like his other claim to miraculous fame, this solve caused quite a bit of discussion. It largely sparked from this comment here by one of the scramblers for the final round of 2x2. This line in particular. It was very difficult to scramble for the final round, because once people started seeing good times on the second scramble, they wanted to see the second scramble. This spawned worries about scramble secrecy and whether or not solving after someone who did well would give you an advantage. Did seeing Edouard react to his record allow Eric to look for something especially lucky? If you walk out and you see someone got a world record on a scramble, you know, hang on, this scramble might be good. Maybe I'll look extra hard for something crazy lucky instead of settling for something good. Well, how do you counteract that? Do you just mandate that people don't react to their records? No, that sucks. Okay, never mind. If you've seen the previous cubing history video, go on, you would know that lucky solves weren't seen in a completely positive light back then. So there was even talk about removing the scramble because it was too easy. Of course, the solve stood, and we have our new record, the first ever sub 1, Eric Akajdik in 2008. This solve would sit comfortably on top of the 2x2 world and remain unchallenged until 2 years later at the US National Championships 2010. This solve was from Ro Hessler, and the solution was 2 moves shorter. Check it out.
Forte.
Here is Ro's scramble, and he made use of this bar to try and solve the green layer, which led to the 5-move solution. This time it seemed that most of the discussion around the solve was actually congratulating Ro, and people wondering who the record holder would be. Would it be Ro because his was newer, or Eric because his was older? Would it go in alphabetical order? Of course, they were both world record holders. It was a tie. We have a tie. So how long can we make it last? Weeks would turn into months, turned into half a year, and over 800 days after the first 0.96, a third challenger would take a swing at the record. At Berkeley Winter 2011, Vincent Hsu, a less than world-class 2x2 solver at the time, received what I must assume to be one of the first 4 movers in a competition. For the third scramble in his set, there was a wave of low 1-second times, but Vince was able to wring out just a bit more time off of his solve and reach the low result of 0.96.
Vincent scramble here with plenty of bars to go around, but ultimately if we're looking at white on bottom, we're going to place the bar on the bottom left.
It seemed almost magical that over 3 years, 3 people would achieve the same time. Not just any time, mind you, a tied world record, all of them matching the first official sub-1 time. The most impressive world record time in cubing history, and it happened during almost the dark ages of cubing. I mean, it wasn't exactly the early noughties where literally nothing happened, and, Felix had come onto the scene 2 years before Vincent became the 3rd member of the 096 club, but cubing was still a good few years out from its golden era, which I consider to be the 2014 to 2017 type time period. There's a large boom in conversations, in content creation, and hardware, and records, and this was even further out from the massive community expansion of the COVID years. The WCA was only 4 years old when the first 0.96 was set. I mean, it's around about 20 years old by the time I'm releasing this video. I'm at a loss for words trying to describe just how improbable this was. But, for as glorious as it was, everything has to come to an end. So how did the tide break? That's not normal. No. Rather beautifully, the tie was broken with the inverse time. 9 months after Vincent joined the tie in February of 2011, Italy's Christian Cassera would achieve a 0.69 single in that year's Trenton Open, and closed the book on one of the most improbable record events in cubing history. As crazy as this 2x2 tie was, it didn't spawn a community meme, it didn't change the course of cubing for the future, it didn't have a massive impact on the landscape. But I think that investigating interesting and cool oddities from cubing's past is a good use of this series, no? And what better way to start than with this? Though if I ever complete the 4th episode in this series, it will be a much larger episode about something that was definitely impactful on the cubing scene, so stay tuned for that and subscribe to make sure you don't miss it, and become a community member to give me money. Thank you, goodbye.